We got something to talk about today. In the studio today, Brian Colby. Let's talk. How you doing, sir?
I am doing well, and it is an honor to be with you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Well, I've not been on the radio with someone as famous as you before, and I wanted to tell your audience of millions, I am sure. I had the opportunity to meet Gena at a conference we were both attending, and as we were sitting there at the table, she looked at me and she said, "Brian, you have the perfect face for radio. How would you like to come on my program sometime?" And I said, I would love to do that. I thought it was a compliment, although my therapist indicated to me that there may have been some subtle messaging going on in there. So.
Well, can you see how I am so interested and happy to have this gentleman on? You've just thrown me totally off with that. so that's okay. Welcome, Brian Colby. Listen, I am so excited to have you here, but my ultimate focus through this radio program is just sharing my passion, and my passion is just meeting new people to share their vision, to hear their narrative. So I'm so honored to have you here.
Well, it's an exciting thing. There's a passage of Scripture that says, "Without vision, the people perish."
Yes.
And
Yes.
we have to find what our passion is in life, whatever we're doing. This is not just something for CEOs and people on TV. This is for all of us, finding out what really makes us tick on the inside.
I agree. So here's a quote from Myles Munroe. And this is just a portion of it. It says, "Sight is the ability to see things as they are, and vision is the capacity to see things as they could be." So when I meet people, when I talk to people, I'm always looking beyond the initial conversation to see, hey, how can I connect to this person to share both of our visions? So, hey.
And the late Myles Munroe was a tremendous visionary. And I'm thinking, has it been a couple of years now since we lost him and his lovely wife? And my goodness, he will be missed.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day, part of my vision for life is creative communication and humor. And I love to think about that during the holidays. We get so uptight and stressed running around in our busyness. And sometimes we need to stop and laugh. And if you're talking to the Kremlin, we'll see if we could get on the phone with Mr. Putin and maybe tell a joke. Three Russians walked into a bar or something like that, and have a little fun with that. But
when I was on Facebook Live, which is a little bit earlier, hey, this is community radio. On Facebook Live, I said, hey, if you have some music you want to hear, I need you to call me, and gave that number. Do you know this is only the second time that phone has rang in 3 years?
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Well,
while I'm in here, so.
Well, I say you're millions of listeners out there. They're starting to call in.
How about that?
It reminds me of a story Ronald Reagan told many years ago about how the Russian and the American were talking back in the 1980s during the Cold War. And the American said to the Russian, he said, we have freedom of speech in our country. He said, I can march into the White House and go up to the president's desk, and I can pound my fist on his desk and say, President Reagan, I don't like how you're running this country. And the Russian said, well, I can do the same thing. He said, you can? Absolutely. I can walk into General Secretary Gorbachev's office, and I can pound my fist on his desk and say, I don't like how President Reagan is running his country.
It's a good one.
Oh, my goodness. But, there's a great friendship between our countries, certainly historically. And so even as we laugh, I certainly hope and pray that we can have productive relationships there over the years and world peace, if we can have a vision for that. But it's such a wonderful thing to laugh. They say that laughter is the best medicine. I don't know if it's the best medicine, but it's good medicine for our lives. And I was thinking the other day, I was laughing about being, having a perfect face for radio. I'm a pretty big guy and a very large person. And so I feel more secure on radio than on television. You don't need a wide-angle lens for the radio program. And I was shopping the other day at one of the big and tall stores, and it's an interesting scenario when you walk in, and especially during the holidays, because all of us big folks are in there looking for things to wear for the holidays, and no other stores have what we need. And so they recognize that we're a little insecure, when we walk through the door, and they're extra kind. And I like to break the ice. I walk through the door, and I'm a great big guy, and I just walk right up to a salesperson. Oh, sir, how may we help you? Do you have any clothes for fat people like me? And they, we don't say it like that around here. I said, well, you can say that to me. I recognize the truth, but I'd like to find some clothes to wear today. But I tell them I've got one question. Do you know CPR, and do you have a defibrillator in here? Because if I go down, I want you to save me so I can wear that new sweater I just bought and enjoy it, with my high cholesterol. But I think it's fun in any situation where there may be humor, the need to break the ice, and just to kind of put that out there.
Yeah, how does that go over, though?
Well, it goes over well because now, if I were a skinny person saying that, it wouldn't go over well. But when I walk in there at 300-some pounds, and wearing a 4 or 5XL shirt, I can get away with that.
Okay.
And it puts us at ease, and we laugh, some of us, the customers, and it can be a fun shopping experience for us. But if I ever lose weight, I won't be able to do that routine anymore.
You'll have to come up with something fresh.
Something different, yeah, absolutely.
Have you done any shopping for the holidays?
Well, yes. I was at Walmart the other day. I have a group of us friends in the community adopted a family.
Oh, nice.
And I was looking at what are some of the hot toys, the popular items that are out there, and they've got this new thing. Target sells them, the Fugler Funny Monster Doll, and it's like one of the big things for the season. If you look it up on the internet, you can see them. These funny-looking monster dolls, and I saw a lady. She had one of these in her cart, and I hadn't seen one before. I'd heard about it, hadn't seen one in person, and I walked up. I said, "Ma'am, that is the cutest Fugler Funny Monster Doll I think I've ever seen." She said, "That is my baby. That is not a..." And so I had to leave the store there. It got a little... No, that really didn't happen.
People can get very sensitive about their children.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my goodness!
I got a on Facebook today. I saw someone who posted this. Tell me what you think about this. And they posted, for all of you who are out shopping for Black Friday, be sure and hold your camera still. That was in relation to when people are fighting, don't be moving around. Hold your camera still so we can see it.
See the fight when it's on YouTube. Yes,
right.
It's amazing. I got to, as crazy as I am, I've never gone and waited in line for one of those sales.
You don't?
Well, maybe I'm just large and too lazy to stand around. I don't know, but I've never done that. But I love to watch the videos. I have kind of an offbeat sense of humor, and to see people, oh my goodness, they get serious about that stuff. Fighting over the Keurig 2.0 machine or whatever it is they're looking for. I mean, they don't play.
I know someone who works at Walmart, and they actually said just yesterday that they were fighting. Two people were fighting over these large screen TVs, and then they realized that they had a whole row of them. no need to. There's no need to fight over them.
Plenty of them. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's
crazy.
It
is. There's something about crowd dynamics. Whether it's sports or concerts or people just at traffic. People get behind that wheel. They get on the internet, on Facebook, and we just get overly brave in some of the things that we say and do.
Don't realize we're getting caught on camera, though.
Oh, yeah. That is something else.
That's the thing, yeah.
Well, if somebody's hollering at me and doing sign language in traffic, I roll down the window, talk to them, They roll down their window, and I'll lean out and say, pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? It always throws them off. Now, for our younger listeners, they don't even know what we're talking about. The Grey Poupon, Dijon mustard, and you remember the commercial.
Yes,
the
I do.
Guys in the Rolls Royces, you roll down the window, and pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon? Kind of disarms them. Then I roll up my window and take off.
Yeah. I don't know if that minimizes it or stops it, but hey,
yeah,
that keeps you laughing and upbeat.
Well, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do that to deal with the stress.
Yeah.
Now you have a fancy hairdo. I got to tell. See, I don't. I get jealous when I see people. As I'm bald, I don't have any hair, and I went into a salon the other day. Sometimes I buzz my own hair. I just shave it basically down to stubble.
Okay.
But sometimes I want to have someone else do it. It's just easier. But I love to walk in, and especially if you're at the mall and you walk into one of those salons where they actually do fancy hairdos. Now, they can do what I need done very easily, but they kind of take pity on you when you walk in. They think, oh, this poor guy, And I say, well, sir, it's kind of like the big and tall store. How can we help you today? I said, I want to do some extensions and some highlights today is what I would like to do with my hairdo. And then they start laughing, and then they realize it's okay. And I said, no, I just want to buzz my hair if you can handle that. Just put a little powder up there so it's not so shiny, and I'll be good to go for the rest of the day. So.
It's the shock effect, I guess. Huh?
It is. Yeah. I think there is some of that. Yeah. It's walking up to a policeman at the mall. A lot of times policemen, they'll work their day job, then do security at places, and walk up. Do you have any donuts? And just see how they respond. I've got a number of police that are friends, and I do that, and we always have fun with that. So if you're a police officer listening to the program, please do not call in, because we don't have any donuts here to share with you as we're doing that. But, I ran into a sheriff's deputy at the mall, and we got to talk, and I could talk to a fence post. I just love to talk to people, love to talk with police officers. I have been a volunteer, a deputy, hostage crisis negotiator, true story, and done chaplaincy work with police. And so there's,
wait a second. Did you say you were a hostage?
I am a certified hostage crisis negotiator. That's not a joke. I'm serious.
I'm
about that
serious,
part.
But how do you do that with your comedic personality?
Well, if there's a hostage barricade situation, you generally don't lead off with 3 hostage takers walked into a bar. I mean, there's a different tact and approach that you go with.
I'm trying to say, how do you reel yourself in?
Yeah. Well, the gravity of those moments reels you in.
Okay.
And when you're in the mobile command post and the throw phone goes through the window and you're sitting there with the scribe and the tactical team, it's the gravity of the situation is very serious.
Yeah.
And,
I'm sorry, I cut your flow off.
Well, no, I love to talk to, and so I see the sheriff's deputy, and I said, well, do you do this part time? He said, yes, I full time during the day. I'm a sheriff's deputy here in Allen County, and I work here at the mall, pick up some extra hours and some extra holiday money. And I said, well, how did your day go today? And he said, well, I had the strangest day. I was patrolling out on one of our country roads, and he said, I looked in my rearview mirror, and I see this 3-legged chicken gaining on me, and he passes me going 60 miles an hour, so I turned on my lights and sirens. And I go after this chicken. I've never seen anything like this. I chased him down this road. He turned down this road, turned down that road, and I could hardly keep up with him. And finally, this 3-legged chicken turned down a country lane, and he ran up past the farmhouse and into the chicken coop. So I pulled up, and I saw the farmer there. I said, is that your 3-legged chicken? Mm-hmm. He says, it is. I said, well, tell me about that. I've never seen one of those. He said, well, I breed them that way. I said, you breed 3-legged chickens? I said, well, why do you do that? He said, well, when Ma and I got married, our favorite piece of chicken was the drumstick. Then Junior came along. Junior's favorite piece was the drumstick. So we needed 3 drumsticks. So that's why I started breeding them like that. He said, no kidding. I said, how do they taste? He said, I don't know. I haven't been able to catch one yet. That's another old Ronald Reagan story. I have to give credit where credit is due,
okay.
But I love telling that one to police officers. They ask if they've chased any 3-legged chickens. It makes it kind of fun.
One of my favorite things around this holiday time is going shopping and doing people watching. Just watching people deciding what to get or what not to get, or watching wives drag their husbands along.
Absolutely. Well, I think that people, there's a certain insecurity that people have because let's face it, when we buy gifts, it's not always altruistic. We want to make a good impression upon family members or upon loved ones and kids and those kind of things. So there's a little bit of nervousness that's going on as we shop. And so I think it's fun to strike up conversations with people, and sometimes the humor can be a fun way to handle it. There's all sorts of people. I mean, I enjoy watching large people like myself, and then asking myself, are we getting enough exercise as Americans? Because it is good exercise to do mall walking or Walmart walking, those kinds of things, and that's always a fun situation. I think my favorite scenario is, and I don't know why this happens, this really does happen. I tell a lot of fictional stories, but people always think I'm one of the employees in a store. I don't know why. I just have that look. And so they'll come up and they'll ask a question, and I'll just start talking to them as though I work there. And I'll say, we've got these 50-inch TVs for $29.95. Have you seen any of those? And they get all excited, and then you walk over. I said, I'm just messing with you. I really don't work here. If I did, they'd be $29.95. But here, I'll show you where customer service is. But that has happened. That truly has happened to me on a number of occasions. Sir, I'm looking for the such and such. So that's always an interesting thing. I'll tell you the other fun thing. It's dangerous. You can get in trouble for it, but commandeer the intercom and page one of your friends who you know is in the store. I was with a buddy. He was actually a police officer. So I had this buddy, that big tough police officer friend, and went out to dinner, we're hanging out, and so I get on the intercom and I page his name and I say, Officer so-and-so, your Spider-Man underwear is now available at the customer service desk, and call his name out. And then anybody else in the store who happens to, you can hear people laughing in the store. Then you got to get out of there before they call security. But it's always fun. Laughing together can really open up the door to do vision planning together, to do brainstorming together. And when you get people laughing until tears are rolling down their face, it breaks down walls. And then you can have a very serious conversation about very big things, very important things where there are very large disagreements and different visions. But then as the visions come together, you end up with a better vision in the end as those different ideas converge. So it's I love doing that. It's just a lot of fun.
Tell me about a time or situation that when you used comedy and it kind of turned things around to the positive. Can you think of one? My
goodness. That's putting me on the spot, but that is a very good question.
Or vice versa.
Yeah. We had a situation in one of the small businesses where I was doing some work, and there was a little bit of tension between the owner and some of his employees. They were good people. He loved them, cared about them, but sometimes tension can develop. And I found that when we did this roast the boss sort of presentation, and I got his permission, to be a little unorthodox, maybe to be a little, not actually disrespectful, but in a way, almost like the old the Dean Martin comedy roasts. Remember those?
Oh yeah, they have them all the time on TV.
Oh
the roasts.
yeah. And to see some of those employees who were maybe having some disagreements or some tension with the boss, to be able to laugh at the boss and to laugh with the boss, and to see him laughing at himself breaks down some barriers.
That's cool.
And it's the backslapping and the handshaking after the meeting where they come together. And so, again, is it the best medicine? I don't know, but it's good medicine. I think.
Because the laughter is.
Absolutely, yeah. It really can break down barriers.
I'm just going to sit back and let you go ahead. And do you have some stuff to share then?
Well, I was thinking the other day, we have interesting people in our lives during the holidays. The weird uncle, the strange relatives, the people who come over and we don't know how to deal with them. And one of the personality types that probably all of us have encountered, maybe some of us are, is we are procrastinators. Well, how do you deal with procrastinators during the holiday?
I don't know, because you're speaking about me.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm going to tell you on next week's program. No, I'm just messing with you.
Oh, that's good.
No, I actually bought a book at the bookstore on dealing with procrastinators during the holidays. But I'm so busy, I don't have time to read it until after the new year. But I'm going to do that and gain some insights that maybe next Christmas I'll be able to share with friends. But I always thought, if you're going to go to dinner at somebody's house and the person who's hosting is the procrastinator, show up late. Dinner probably won't be ready anyway.
Won't be ready.
And don't say grace until after the meal's over. Procrastinate on the prayer. I mean, let's just embrace the procrastination and have a little fun for that. But if you want to have fun with a procrastinator, you know what you do.
No, what?
Well, you'll give them a check and a card. Post date it for after the new year. They won't be able to cash it. You give it to them. You say, "Well, you can't cash it until after."
They'll love that.
Oh yeah, have a lot of fun. With that.
Boy.
Or better yet, don't even buy their present at the after Christmas sale, and then give it to them late. Save money. They get a better gift, and everybody's happy. But I do think around the table, during the holidays, we live in a nation where we're very divided politically. There's a lot of tension. I mean, you read stories about this, journal articles, psychologists writing, serious tension that families have. And I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he and I have different political views, but we laugh together. And he was talking about another friend of his that he has. Political differences, but they laughed together. And we just lamented, we commented that if we could learn to laugh with one another and to love one another, even in this very divisive time, that might be a good thing. It might be a good thing to do. And never assume that somebody who has a different political viewpoint is necessarily evil. It's so easy for us to do that. But again, if we can laugh at one another and with one another, in the midst of that, we'll learn some things. And sometimes some of our own ideas and our own stereotypes will be challenged. And so I think that's during the holidays, unfortunately, and I've seen it. I was a pastor for over 20 years. And, pastors basically are referees who don't wear striped shirts. They wear a shirt and tie, or in our casual dress day, maybe a button-down shirt. Mm-hmm. Always being called upon to referee situations. And how many times I've told families, learn to love each other, learn to laugh with each other. Don't focus on the differences. And if you're going to talk about them, approach that with a certain humility. We talked about the concept of cultural humility at this seminar some weeks ago. And so I think if our mindset is right when we enter into those conversations, things are going to be a whole lot better. And humor can be a part of that. But there has to be that humility where we can laugh at ourselves. If we're not willing to laugh at ourselves, there's probably a character defect there.
And it has to be relationships with it. Now you're getting serious, okay? But I'm going back to that conference as well. In order for you to person to person, face to face with someone, there has to be that relationship.
There does.
So that you can actually talk culture and laugh about it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Because, there are so many sensitive cultural issues.
Yeah.
And, you're not going to walk up to a stranger necessarily and start, a humorous conversation about cultural difference. That could be misunderstood. But where there's friendship. I have a friend of mine, I'm a fat white guy, and I have an African-American friend who's just a dear, dear friend. And he teases me mercilessly. And the other day we were in a meeting, and I was wearing a striped shirt. And I always joke that, well, this is my impersonation of a barricade barrel for highway road construction, with the stripes on my shirt, 'cause I'm a big guy. Mm-hmm. And I walked in the room, and he just looked at me. He said, "What is it with you white guys in those striped shirts like that?" And I said, and this is a true story. I said, "I don't know. I'd never thought about it like that. I kid you not. I am not making this up. This is a true story. A mutual friend of ours, who was another African-American gentleman, came walking into the room, happened to be wearing a shirt that was almost identical to the one that I had on, stripes. And I looked at him, and my buddy looks at this other guy. He says, "Why are you dressing like a white boy today?" And we laughed about that. We just good friends. I mean, there's a relationship there. So,
right.
I mean, you probably wouldn't want to go out to the mall and walk up to somebody and make a comment. But to be able to have friends from various cultural and ethnic backgrounds where we can laugh together, but we can also ask one another serious questions and hard questions. To be able to have the humility, sometimes following a laugh, to be able to say, how can I understand this situation or this hurt or this apprehension? How can I understand this better? Because my background is so different. I never experienced that particular fear or bias that you're describing. And as you try to enter into that person's world and put on their shoes, it makes a difference.
It does make a difference.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
So, sir, I just want to say thank you so much for coming in. You got real serious now. I've never seen you get serious.
Well, this is what I do when I do training, when I do these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And in my work, the ministry, radio broadcasting I've done over the years, I've always had that kind of an approach. One of my favorite comedians, a couple of them, Ken Davis and Mark Lowry, many of you have seen them. I mean, they will have the audience just in tears, laughing so hard. And then they'll turn that discussion into something about our personal character, our spiritual lives. I love that. I don't claim to be able to do it as well as they do, but that's a neat thing. That's a powerful thing.
I've enjoyed this. Will you come back then?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you told me I had a perfect face for radio, and you said I had the perfect physique for radio as well, so I'll be glad to come back.
I did not say that, but okay. Oh, my goodness. You have been listening to Brian Colby. I'll give you the final thoughts, sir.
Well, there is a popular phrase. It's sometimes on a picture, it's sometimes on a stencil that we've seen at the shopping malls. It says, live, laugh, love. And maybe it is a cliche, but I think those are wise words for the holidays for all of us. And so let's all learn how to live, laugh, and love.
Awesome. You've been listening to Brian Colby at Speak Now, Jamming with My Jazz.